Treatment of upper-class criminality. White-collar crimes are also punished by criminal laws and criminal justice of the state, but they are not considered as offenses in a similar manner as other street offenses. Criminologists and criminology dealt with the activities of the lower-class offenders in the early days of criminology. They populated courts and prisons. They were mostly involved in burglary, assault, theft, and murder, etc. Many of the criminologists and researchers were of the view that these causes arose from the pathological factors of the offenders, from poverty and from deprivation. This idea was challenged in 1939 by the famous U.S. criminologist Edwin Sutherland. He proposed an alternative idea. Persons of the upper socioeconomic class engage in much criminal behavior, and this criminal behavior differs from the criminal behavior of the lower socioeconomic class, principally in the administrative procedures which are used in dealing with the offenders. And that variations in administrative procedures are not significant from the point of view of causation of crime. Importance of studying white-collar crime. In the late 1930s, the distinguished criminologist Edwin Sutherland first used the phrase white-collar crime to describe the criminal activities of the rich and powerful. He defined white-collar crime as a crime committed by a person of respectability and high social status in the course of his occupation. As Sutherland saw it, white-collar crime involved conspiracies by members of the wealthy classes to use their position in commerce and industry for personal gain without regard to the law. Often, these actions were handled by civil courts because injured parties were more concerned with recovering their losses than with seeing the offenders punished criminally. Consequently, Sutherland believed that the great majority of white-collar criminals did not become the subject of criminological study. Yet the cost of white-collar crime is probably several times greater than all the crimes customarily regarded as the crime problem. And, in contrast to street crimes, white-collar offenses breed distrust in economic and social institutions, lower public morale, and undermine faith in business and government. Impact of white-collar crime. White-collar crimes affect all aspects of our lives, i.e. public sector, financial sector, political system, etc. The criminal activities of the most talented and highly educated individuals harm the entire fabric of society. Greed, opportunity, a sense of entitlement, arrogance, competitiveness, loopholes in corporate and legal structures, and justifications are also some of the motivating factors for white-collar crimes. The major causes of the prevalence of white-collar crimes are peer support, corporate culture, lack of accountability, fragile political system, and lack of reporting structures. Looking at the economic, political, and social costs of white-collar crimes in Pakistan, these should be seriously considered by the criminal justice system of Pakistan, which unfortunately is not the case. Somehow, those in power almost always evade the law by pre-arrest bails and delayed trials. There's hardly any harm to the white-collar criminal's reputation, let alone any strict penalties. White-collar crime offenders have influenced the fabric of society in such a way that they have affected the ethics and values which people normally try to maintain in society. Inherent causes of white-collar crime. Generally, white-collar crime is caused by greed, economic difficulty, opportunity to commit crime, and situational pressure. The inherent characteristic to get more than others is one of the major causes of white-collar crime. One school of thought in criminology is of the view that personality disorders can also shape criminal tendencies in human beings. It takes personality disorders like narcissism and antisocial personality disorders to commit white-collar crimes. Lack of accountability, opportunity to commit crime, peer support, greed and loopholes in legal structures, lack of reporting, and staying in competition are some of the factors with which most experts agreed to be the causes of white-collar crimes, except for corporate culture. Some preventive measures are regularly reviewing policies and designing audit and fraud detection activities in an efficient and effective manner. One of the preventive measures to curb white-collar crimes is the reduction of opportunities for crime by changing organizational structures. Preventive measures to control white-collar crimes include reviewing policies regularly, reducing opportunities to commit crime, observing ethics, enforcement of current laws, etc. The motives behind the commission of white-collar crimes are primarily the wish for control in society, fear and anxiety of dwindling from the social status, lack of social consciousness and integrity, weak and ineffective internal controls of organizations and departments, greed and hunger for wealth, monetary and financial gains, and ineffective and ineffectual corporate culture in the economy. The costs of white-collar crimes are both financial and social. When we analyze the financial costs faced as a consequence of white-collar crimes, these are in the billions per year, causing economies and political systems of developing countries like Pakistan to suffer. In addition to the economic burden on the economy, these crimes also result in a sharp decline in the quality of life, weaker political social order, and inflation. The financial cost and impacts of white-collar crimes are much more than the cost suffered due to all street crimes. Reasons for increase in white-collar crime. Increase in industrialization and manufacturing of almost all products through modern, technical, and sophisticated processes, and the increase in international trade business. E-commerce and e-banking have resulted in a wide range of white-collar criminals in the business world going unpunished for want of compatible training in investigation and prosecution agencies, leaving many white-collar crimes without prosecution and punishment. White-collar crimes are protected by professionals. These crimes are on the rise due to the advent of technology and growth of education. These professionals find weaknesses in the judicial system and find direct or indirect political support and involvement from the government authorities to facilitate white-collar criminals. Inadequate supervision and lack of internal auditing lead to white-collar crimes.